Imagine looking at the Earth from outer space. Now imagine peeling back the top layers of the planet and exposing what's underneath. If you had a special device that could detect electromagnetism, you would see a carefully arranged network of lines running all around the Earth. These are called ley lines.
When you start to map out the locations of where these pyramids are located on the planet, all of a sudden you start to realize that there are these things called ley lines.
And they have been considered by many over the centuries as the equivalent of veins and arteries of the planet. That's because they transport energy all over it and make sure that this energy is balanced.
Tune into this energy that's coming from the stones and ask for your rods. Just there, there we go. Now, are you doing that, or has that done it by itself?
It's done it by itself.
There we are.
But just like any network, it has certain points where the lines cross. If you could remember where those knots are, and then put back the top layers of the Earth, you will see that these are usually the places where ancient temples or other sacred structures are built. And some of them are quite famous, from the Great Pyramid of Giza to Stonehenge, and from Teotihuacan to Borobudur in Java. You will find that almost every major ritualistic construction is situated on a ley line. But how did the ancients know about these? Who helped them build their monuments with such precision? And why did they build them in the first place? Although they've been around for practically the age of the Earth, ley lines may not be something everybody's familiar with. These lines are called so because of the people that promoted them. The term was coined back in the 1920s, when Alfred Watkins started promoting the idea that these lines were actually trading routes used by people that lived in Britain a very long time ago. But his idea didn't really catch on that quickly. Granted, a version of his idea first emerged in the mid-1800s, and again about 10 years before Atkins in Germany. Each of these ideas proposed that one could connect each important monument or historical site to the rest of them using a continuous straight line. That's because they were built in specific locations to make traveling and guidance easier. It wasn't until the 1960s that the idea really caught some grip and started amassing support from around the world. Writers, scientists, researchers, scholars, and even regular people started believing more and more in the ley line theory and even started to search for evidence to support it. Turns out that there are a lot of things that check out when you start doing the research and putting things together. There's a lot of speculation regarding why the pyramids and other monuments and sacred sites were built where they were. Some say that their locations have nothing to do with ley lines, but simply with the surroundings. But that doesn't really add up. That's because some of them are built in really hard-to-reach places, and moving any building materials would have been quite difficult. Also, some of these sites are so remote that only the ones that live around them would know about them. So there has to be another explanation for building them where they are today.
But I've been to a lot of pyramids, and when you start to map out the locations of where these pyramids are located on the planet, all of a sudden you start to realize that there are these things called ley lines, and that the pyramids are sitting on these specific nodes on the planet Earth, along with other incredible ancient temples and ancient stone megalithic structures. So you have to ask yourself, why would they do this? Why are these things in these specific locations? Why do they direct themselves towards one another? And what is the purpose of building them on these specific locations and spots?
One such explanation is that they were purposely built on ley lines all over the world. And the reason behind that is the fact that people knew from way back then that these lines and the points in which they meet were packed with a lot of energy. So they created ways of harnessing and channeling that energy. Basically, this means that these monuments are nothing more than large receivers or antennas. This way, energy can come up from the Earth and down from the sky above.
They themselves, the pyramids, were crazy energy accumulators and distributors, mechanical, thermal, electric, magnetic, nuclear, and even chemical. There was so much going on within these, and there was a whole system.
Another theory suggests that the ley lines, and especially the places where they cross, are portals or special locations that can be used to communicate with entities from another world, or even transport matter from one place to another. Some believe that the monuments weren't even built by people, but by members of ancient civilizations that had superior knowledge and technology on their side. This way, they could always have a way of communicating with others and also know where on the globe they are at any time. People are just sort of the caretakers of these portals and get to use them in order to communicate and ask and receive information through them.
Well, they were able to create a grid of meridians on the planet, or put structures on the meridian grids of the planet, and then transmit wireless electricity, maybe even sound, maybe even photo or video. We don't know the level of technology, but we do know sound for sure. There are so many accounts in ancient texts from around the world where different rulers and leaders that have been put into power, whether it be pharaohs, whether it be kings, whether it be different types of sages, get information from talking stones.
Although their popularity skyrocketed in the mid-1900s, they still aren't as famous as some may like. That's because there's still a lot of people out there that don't want information like this getting out, and even those that might think that the whole thing is just a stunt to drum up tourists for these sites. But that is certainly not the case. That's because these ley lines were known in ancient times and are represented in various texts that have been uncovered since. These texts usually talk about Earth's energy coursing through different areas of the planet and the people that can see it. They also mention things like giants and supernatural encounters that people back then had. And this is one of the reasons why these lines aren't more popular among people nowadays. Some find it hard to understand such things and accept the existence of such phenomena, while others might even flat out consider it a conspiracy theory and dismiss it without even hearing the arguments. Another reason why these lines aren't more popular is that there have been talks and disagreements among the people that actually are in favor of them. That's because some members of the community believed that archaeological evidence and historical proof backed by rational arguments were not the way to go. For them, the existence of ley lines is something more spiritual and connected to the faith aspect of the whole thing. On another side, there are those that think that using archaeological and historical evidence is the only way to go if these lines are ever to be taken seriously. Until this dispute is resolved, or at least paused, the ley lines issue will remain a marginal one, without too much interest from the mainstream culture. Ley lines are electromagnetic pipes that guide the energy from the Earth to all the places they reach. It's very similar to how the body works, and that's why so many people think that there's a direct connection between the two. One such example is the fact that both the energy coursing through these lines and the energy in our bodies is of an electromagnetic nature. That's why so many feel like these lines correspond to the way that veins and arteries work in a body. There's also the foundation of some healing practices, such as chakra alignment or acupressure. The practitioners of these therapies consider that they can heal anybody by redistributing the energy that's flowing through their body and sending it where it has to go.
When you look at the energy grids on the Earth, you begin to realize as above, so below really does fall into place, not only when you're talking about the planetary grid system, but also with the human body itself. So these energy grids or these lines of force not only are on the planet, but they're also in the human body. The human body itself, if you look at the acupuncture grid, the energy meridians that go through the human body for acupuncture, you discover that these same energy grids or these same points of force and energy are also in the human body. And the human body functions off of also what? Electromagnetism.
Another way people seem to consider that there's a strong link between the human body and ley lines is by using these lines while hiking. These people are convinced that if some animals can use these lines and the electromagnetic signature of the Earth to guide themselves, then so can they. They even believe that walking from one knot to another will reconnect them better with their true nature. Some even advocate doing these walks barefoot in order to better connect to the ground. Although there isn't that much scientific proof to back these claims up, those who do this swear by this technique and encourage others to try it, even if you believe in them or not. Ley lines are a part of this planet and have been used by people from almost every period of time. They carry a huge amount of energy and also help people figure out where they have to go. These lines have been the subject of many controversies over the years, but still, there are those that will believe in them and in the power that they have, and so they still hold an important part in many people's lives. Also, ley lines have been used by certain people for the most part of history, either to communicate with their deities, to focus the vital energy of the planet where they need it, or simply to map out where the next shrine or temple should be built. Nowadays, though, although there aren't many megalithic structures being built, they are still important and will continue to be so for anybody that understands their importance in society. If you were given an opportunity to travel through time, would you time travel forwards or backwards? Would you rather have innovation and technology at its full potential in the future, or would you rather live and unveil monumental parts of history in the past? Well, for one person, this isn't just a thought exercise. He claims to have done it. He also claims to go back in time and witness one of history's greatest moments with his own eyes, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. This is the story of Father Pellegrino Ernetti and his time-traveling machine, the Chronovisor. Pellegrino Maria Ernetti, born in 1925, was a Roman Catholic who joined the Benedictine order at the young age of 16. While he was known to have been a good priest, scientist, and musician, he was mainly known for two things: exorcism and the Chronovisor. During his time, Pellegrino was known as the most famous exorcist in Venice. Beyond Venice, though, Ernetti is most well known for his time-traveling machine, the Chronovisor. The chronovisor remains one of Vatican's greatest mysteries, with rumors saying that Ernetti used this machine to view important events in the Christian history with his own eyes. Ernetti, along with many scientists, claims to have made the chronovisor through combining ancient occult knowledge and modern scientific advancements to provide the Vatican with information about certain historical events. Peter Krause, a journalist, published a book in 1997, originally released in German, entitled Die Schicksal ist vorherbestimmt, literally meaning, your destiny is foretold, which details the information currently known about the chronovisor. The book was later translated to English under the title The Creation and Disappearance of the World's First Time Machine on March 1, 2000. This book features previously unreleased documents, such as the first Latin to English translation of the text of Thyestes, a now lost tragedy from Rome in 169 BC. Ernetti was said to have brought it back himself. In addition, Vatican priest Father Francois Brune was in full support of the chronovisor's existence. Ernetti died at the age of 69 in 1994, and while his death was reportedly peaceful, many speculate whether this peacefulness was natural or done by force to silence Ernetti in order to conceal the secrets of the chronovisor. While not much is known about Ernetti himself other than having a boisterous career in the field of music and being proficient at exorcism, his claim to having made a time-traveling machine has left an impact not only on the Christian community, but the speculative population as a whole. To say that the chronovisor is a time-traveling machine wouldn't be entirely correct, though it wouldn't be incorrect either. If by time-traveling machine you mean transporting a person to another time period to allow them to live that era in person, then the chronovisor isn't a time-traveling machine by that definition. However, if you define a time-traveling machine as a device that allows users to peer into either the past or future, then the chronovisor is a time-traveling machine. The chronovisor is described as a time viewer that had the ability to film and capture images from the past without sound. Think of it more as a window to the past than a time machine, a device capable of displaying scenes from a specific time in the past. It's unsure whether the chronovisor is capable of viewing events in the future, as only reports of events from the past have been observed by Ernetti. While a blueprint of this device exists in the public domain, it's not exactly clear how the machine functions. The chronovisor is reported to have been built by a team of 12 scientists, most of which go unnamed, but includes famed physicist Enrico Fermi and former Nazi scientist Werner von Braun, who helped Ernetti construct the device. Fermi was noteworthy, as he received a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1938, while von Braun was part of the NASA team that allowed America to step on the moon. While the concept of a time-traveling machine is seemingly impossible, with a team of these renowned scientists, it lessens the gap of fiction and reality. The machine itself was composed of antennae made out of mysterious metals, which were responsible for receiving light and sound signals on every wavelength responsible for tuning into a specific time and place. Additionally, there was a screen and recording device that allowed the user to capture any moments they wanted. Ernetti claims to have observed many historical events, some of which he has proofs of observing. As mentioned earlier, Ernetti claims to have watched parts of Thyestes during his televisual travels, publishing fragments of what he observed from the play. He also claims to have seen ancient Rome during its prime. Ernetti was also able to recount how he witnessed Marcus Tullius Cicero's speech to the Roman Senate in 63 BC. Other speeches Ernetti claims to have watched are those of Mussolini and Napoleon. The boldest and most famous historical event he claims to have witnessed through the chronovisor, however, is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ in AD 33. On May 2nd, 1927, through an Italian magazine called La Domenica del Corriere, Ernetti published a shocking image that surprised many, especially the religious: the never-before-seen face of a crucified Jesus Christ. While its legitimacy is heavily contested, this is what Ernetti considers as the prime proof of the chronovisor's time-traveling abilities, because nobody saw the chronovisor machine itself.